Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Holy Sparks podcast. Saul K here, super excited and grateful for yet another episode, local focus. I'm super excited about this one, and I have to warn you, you may get hungry throughout the process of this interview. Without further ado, let me edify and introduce the woman properly. Doreet Jehassi started making and selling Yemenite Jewish breads out of her home kitchen 6 years ago. She now offers a variety of savory and sweet wraps, baked goods, dips, and other Yemenite Israeli specialties for pickup and delivery at the Malawach Bar, which operates out of her new brick-and-mortar restaurant in Palo Alto. Doreet wasn't always in the food industry. Doreet grew up in Long Island in a family that immigrated from Israel after the Six-Day War. After high school, she returned to Israel and studied dance at the Wingate Institute as well as linguistics and literature at Bar Ilan University. She worked as a teacher and communications consultant in Israel. Eventually, she moved back to the U.S. and settled in Silicon Valley, home to a large community of Israeli expats, expatriates. She recently managed communications in the high-tech industry, but she was unfulfilled by the work. So today, the Malawach Bar reflects her personal journey, both geographically and professionally, to find the place she truly belongs. Now, preparing these traditional recipes that she learned cooking alongside her mother as a young girl and with her extended family in Israel, Doreet has found a satisfying and creative outlet that feels deeply meaningful to her. Doreet, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. What an honor. I am so excited to be here.
So happy to have you. And I must say, I had tasted your food one time at the JCC, and then I was delighted to find a brick and mortar restaurant. So we're going to talk about the journey of that transition. And I want to rewind the tape a little bit, and maybe you can share a little bit with our audience about growing up in Long Island.
Growing up on Long Island back in 73 when I was born, it was interesting. So my family, as you have said, emigrated from Israel to New York. And they were the type of people that wanted to conform to the American culture. And so that's what they did. And I, growing up there alongside my family, we looked very different from others. Being on Long Island, we had your typical American, if that's okay to say, looking, and us as a family being very ethnic looking. It was an interesting experience. So it was a little bit hard, but I truly found my identity later on in life, and going from after high school to Israel. So
And when I
living on Long Island was interesting.
Yeah, when I think about Long Island and New York, I think of, I mean, my family also immigrated to New York, and I think of
Mm,
tons of people there. You have the Puerto Ricans, and you have people from Europe and the Middle East, and it seems in
that's
my
true.
mind to be very diverse, but maybe back then, at least where you were, it wasn't as diverse.
It was not, no. And going to a very large, I guess, public school, I was a minority. I was poked fun of sometimes, asked many questions, what I am and all that.
Oh,
So,
interesting. If you don't
yeah.
mind me asking, I know that in your bio you said that your family immigrated after the 67 war, right?
Hmm.
So, any story you want to share about that, or why that was the moment as opposed to the 73 war or another time?
Right. Interesting. I don't think the war triggered their move necessarily. It was more so my grandfather, my father's father, who left Israel for just a short stint. And he actually lived in Brooklyn for some time. I don't know exactly how long. And he actually opened up, he was a rabbi. He opened his own basar and halavi restaurant in Brooklyn. So they called him Rabbi Yehuda. So my grandfather, Saba Yehuda, was also a chef. So he had a restaurant business in Brooklyn, a meat and dairy restaurant. Everyone called him Rabbi Yehuda. And he actually grew up in the food industry making falafels. And he did really well in Israel. And
Hmm.
I was very young when I couldn't really speak with him. He was much older than me, and my Hebrew wasn't as good as a young child. But from what I understood, that they were very successful in Israel, in Herzliya, where they had their falafel shop. And I assume he wanted to continue his success in America and try it there. So it went very well. And I think he was in America for for short, maybe 3 years, just a few years, no, not more. And then he longed to go back home. And my father kind of left Israel at that sort of similar time where he went back and then he left and he tried his profession, which was building boats from fiberglass. And he started in Herzliya as well. And my dad just never left.
Wow. So you definitely have a
Hmm.
legacy of entrepreneurship in your family. That is very
Yes,
interesting.
exactly. Hmm.
Okay, so now tell me, at a certain point, either you or your family decided to make Aliyah after high school. Is that when that happened? Talk about that.
Correct. I'm the only one in my family, so I'm one of four children. And I left. I wanted to study abroad in Israel at Bar Ilan University for 1 year. It was a great experience, and I fell in love with the country, and I didn't want to leave. So I decided to make Aliyah as a new immigrant. Essentially, wasn't really a new immigrant because my family, my parents were Israelis. So I was considered a Tina Chozeret. So I automatically had citizenship, and I stayed. I went ahead and studied at Bar Ilan, continued my education there, and also at Wingate Institute.
I love it. And talk to me about, I know there's a huge Yemenite community in Israel and different from the US, but talk about your experience in and around that community there, if that was a big part of your experience while you were at school.
Yeah, that's interesting because I am American first, Israeli second,
Hmm.
and Yemenite third.
Aha.
So being an American Israeli Yemenite woman and one who has grown up in America with a culture and mannerisms and mentality of American culture, and going to Israel with an entirely different culture where I speak more proper Hebrew, if that's okay to say, and with an accent, it was interesting. So I was always questioned because I didn't behave as an Israeli. And so it was nice in one hand to be asked all these questions, but on the other hand, did they really accept me to be one of them? So I never really fit in a sense. I was in Israel, I was more American. And in America, I feel a little bit more Israeli.
Hmm.
So when I launched my own business, I really found my identity because it's a mix, it's a mesh of me. Three, three identities.
I love it. Wow. I think so many
Hmm.
people, I've been reading this book about healing wounds and trauma and all types of things, but one of the things it talks about as a core uh, identifier of Jews around the world is the feeling of being the other. Wherever we are, we're the other.
Mm-hmm.
Even when you're in Israel, you're slightly other than what some other people that are slightly other than you, right? This is it's a common thing, and so I think we always have this find my home alert on in our souls. We're always trying to find home base. This is like constant
Sure.
searching, which leads us to cooking. So tell me,
Mm-hmm.
who first inspired you to cook? I know you have a legacy from your grandfather, so was it your grandfather or someone else?
It was more so, I always had a passion for cooking. I had this creative outlet. If it was dance, if it was music, 'cause I also played piano and the flute. Food is also creative. So I needed to satisfy that creative side of mine. And when I saw my mom making her typical Yemenite delights before Shabbat, for Shabbat, let's just say, it would always intrigue me, and I would always pull on her apron strings and see what she was doing. And she taught me initially how to create all of these delicious delights, jafnun, kubane, and saluf, and all that. And I just really wanted to learn more. And when I made Aliyah to Israel and I met with my extended family, they made the same items, even more and beyond. I learned from them as well. And I took the best practices of each part of my family, my mother's side and my father's side. And so in Yemen, it's a huge area, it's a huge region. And depending where your specific family came from in Yemen, there were specific nuances in the cuisine. They called it different names. And so I learned that from both my mom's side and my father's side, and I kind of brought it together and made it my own.
That's so interesting. Okay, so there's five dishes I know about, or maybe these are types of breads or a combination of both. But maybe,
Mhm.
and if you want to even show people, you could talk about malawach, lachuch, jachnun, kubane, and
Yes,
sabaya. Maybe you can
to
walk
buy.
people through that.
Okay. Would you like a visual? So may I take
Yes.
you along with me?
Yeah, so for those of you that are listening on the audio, you can go to YouTube for the full visual. And now we will have a tour.
Okay. So may I give you the kind of full experience as customers walk in
Let's do it.
to the establishment? So this is as they walk in. This would be the dining area. And then they would come over here to order.
Nice windows.
And here is a loop of my menu up here, along with little hard copies. And then they come by and then see a plethora of salad, a salad bar. And these are Middle Eastern / Israeli salad, so it's a fusion. Customers get alongside their full orders some salads.
Which I
Here I also make tahini shakes.
Oh,
So
I
they're
hope you were
vegan
going to
shakes.
talk about this. That was
Uh-huh.
amazing. I've never had a tahini
Oh,
shake before. Okay, break
oh,
it down. What's
great, great.
in it?
So it's a tahini-based shake, which is obviously all vegan. And I create 3 flavors, which are tahini date, tahini coffee, and tahini chocolate. And so today's flavor is chocolate, delicious. And it's just, you get a nutty flavor, like kind of a halva flavor with the essence of either coffee, dates, and chocolate. It's delicious. And the creaminess of the tahini.
Nachon. I tried the
Okay.
chocolate.
Ah, yes.
Yummy.
And here's Emra. He's one of my staff members. He's one of my pastry chefs. And he's actually cooking up some of the malawa.
Hmm. Okay, so some people actually have no idea what is malawa.
Malawa is a pan-fried bread. I would say it's similar to a phyllo dough. So as you place it in, I don't know if you can even see it. When
Yep.
you cover it, it creates heat in between the layers of the flakiness of the dough because the dough is laminated and it starts to puff up.
Mm.
And then we turn it over and then we make sure both sides are golden brown. Let me see if there's one here that's available. So here are some.
Mm-hmm.
Here I create my wraps in the malawa. And then I have here, this is she makes all my salads. This is Miriam. And I want to show you, and here's where the magic happens. I have a huge 60-quart dough, and there's dough resting in there
Mm-hmm.
where all my jachnun and mamalawa happens. And so I want to show you what a jachnun looks like. So jachnun, place you right over here. There you go.
Okay.
It looks something like this, just like that. And this is a staple Shabbat bread where Yemenite Jews would eat in the morning. And it's a kind of bread that you eat with your hands, you tear, and you dip into a tomato puree, as well as a spicy picante sauce. It's called food, and I can show you what that
Oh,
looks
cool.
like.
And was that
Mhm.
rolled up like a tortilla for us
It
Californians?
is. It's
Okay.
rolled up into a 6-inch roll, and it's also laminated.
Mm.
And the green item here is my schug alongside with the hummus there.
And how
That's right.
spicy is your slug?
By default, Yemenite schug is spicy. There is no way you
There's no
can't work
mild.
around it.
That's good. Good. I like
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Amazing. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else that you want to show us?
So as far as bread, my sabaya, it happens on Fridays for Erev Shabbat. So Fridays, I have a special menu for Shabbat. I make also soup. I make Yemenite soup. I want to say Yemenite matzo ball soup. Also, kubane bread is our version of the challah, and it's a pull-apart bread that has nigella seeds inside, or what we call ketza, or in Arabic, chabasoda, and it creates or gives a very ethnic taste to it. So yeah.
Wow, that sounds
Hmm.
amazing. I'm definitely hungry.
Hmm.
So, nigella seeds, I've never even heard of that. That is a topping on top, or that's inside of the actual bread?
So I either do it on top or I can put it inside. I usually now just do it on top. Just if some people don't care for it, it's a unique taste.
Sounds amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's all 100% kosher. Yes?
100% kosher by the
Okay.
VOD of
Okay.
Sunrise Kosher.
Oh, this is important to know. This is good.
Yeah. And I am Pat Israel. Everything I place in the oven and bake. So,
Okay, that is great to know. There
mhm,
are not that many kosher
mhm.
restaurants in the Bay Area at all, and so this is a huge deal. And so I guess mostly people come to you for lunch, or are you open for dinner as well?
I'm open for brunch
A brunch.
and dinner.
Okay.
I may be open in the maybe 1 or 2 days a week for breakfast. People have been asking, and possibly adding hot beverages like coffee and tea.
Nice. I did have a shakshuka wrap, by the way. Very good. Shakshuka is one of my
Thank you.
favorite dishes ever. So I love it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
now tell me, what is your vision for the Malawach bar? What do you see?
Oh, to have a malawak bar in every corner. That's my vision.
Like to
Yeah.
franchise it out?
Possibly. Why not? I feel very blessed, and I want to say I'm very proud of myself coming from where I came from to this place. And I feel that people are so appreciative, not only the Israeli and Jewish community, but the vegan and vegetarian community as well. So
Yeah,
I get a lot of support for them.
great. And then
Mhm.
also you do have some gluten-free options if people wanted to not have bread.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I can do plated options, so with salads and rice, and your protein, which is your eggplant and your egg, and falafel and chickpea.
Okay, love it, love it.
Mhm.
Now, it's so exciting. We
Thank you.
run there and eat ASAP. So do you find people pick up food for Shabbat? Is that a thing? People come and they get their bread or soup and
Yes, I do find that the more so the religious community
yeah.
would like, yes, absolutely. They say, hey, will you be having some soups? I would like to place an order or reserve some soup for a family of five or whatever. So yes, I do see that. And I will increase the Shabbat menu. I'll add some more items that people have been asking like for chamin, especially in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So there's this Yemenite chamin, and you can place it over rice. So something more hearty.
Nice. And we'll ask you a couple other
Mhm.
questions. Do you do parties, events as well?
I do. For as far as events and catering events, I do drop off, and I more so small size, up to 75 people. I am able to do, like for Chabad, I've done parties for them, even presentations, and I speak about Yemenite Jewry and sometimes talk about female entrepreneurship as well to those who are interested.
Oh, I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I love
Mhm.
it. Okay, and then talk about the Yemenite community here. What is it like for those of us that aren't as connected to it, and how does it overlap with Israel community, and anything you want to say about that?
I've never met a Yemenite person until I launched my business. And I'm not saying that it doesn't have to be Yemenite Jewish, be Yemenite of Muslim faith as well.
Yeah.
So they hear of me and they come and they absolutely love it, and they want to talk to me, and they actually tell me stories in Yemen how they have met Jews and how they've impacted Yemen with their creative. They were silversmiths, so they created jewelry. And so they said the Jews of Yemen left a mark. And that was more specifically in the jewelry sector. And they would explain it to me that they've had friends, they've had neighbors that were Jews, and it was unfortunate that they had to leave. But so I would interview them. I wanted to learn more. We would just compare cuisines. And we noticed that, Trug is a different name where they call it Sahaweg or I call it Sol. And it was just interesting conversations I'd have with them. And so open and so loving. I have to emphasize that.
It's so nice. That's
Mhm.
really nice to hear, especially
Thank you.
with everything going on. And I wanted to
Hmm.
also ask you, I know we've all been affected by this war that's now 7 months going,
Hmm.
or some would argue 90 years in the process. And so I'm just curious, how has that either inspired your work or affected the work that you do, or how has it impacted your specific lane?
So actually, it just motivates me to continue on. I just, and to show that I'm proud of who I am and I don't fear.
Mm,
And being a female owned business and one of four kosher or five kosher establishments, so people assume that I'm Jewish, obviously.
mm,
And I'm not scared at all. Actually, in a way, and it's odd to say, helped my business because now I get more support from the community, knowing that I'm Israeli and
Mm-hmm.
Jewish.
Mm.
And I think the whole female entrepreneur card is last. But I've noticed that a lot of support, and I feel really blessed to
Amazing.
have that. Hmm.
What a nice perspective. So
Yeah.
today, as you know, is Yom HaAtzmaut, and we're turning 76 years strong.
Hmm.
So, what does that mean to you today? What does that feel like for you today?
Wow, that is it. It means everything, and we're just going to persevere, move on, and go until 120 and beyond. It really, when I remember when I was in Wingate, we did a Yom Ha'atzmaut sort of celebration, and Wingate celebrated 50 years of being in existence. And it was the same day as Yom Ha'atzmaut. And I remember I danced at their celebration. And so whenever Yom Ha'atzmaut comes along, every year it triggers that memory. And so it's a nice memory for me. And it's just pretty much continue moving on and persevering on and just never stop.
Amen, amen.
So.
Okay,
Mhm.
so is there anything else you want to tell us about the Malawach bar or yourself, or did we miss anything?
Wow. No, nothing. We talked about the kosher aspect, and people have asked, am I going to become fleshik or basari?
Oh,
I don't see that in the near future happening. So I tell people I will just open another branch and it will be
nice.
basar.
So this will be the vegetarian branch, and then there could be other
Correct.
options. I love
Yes, absolutely.
it. Okay,
Hmm.
great. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy
Hmm.
woman and a busy business, and you're about to open your doors as well. So my
Thank you.
last question for you, Dorit, is what do you think the Jewish world needs now most, and why?
Visionaries, I think. Visionaries and achdut, unity. And female looking female entrepreneurship. No, no, honestly, more visionaries and achdut. So visionaries meaning always looking ahead,
Mhm.
planning for the future, but creating some sort of unity, never not allowing hate to interfere with that vision because hate can automatically remove that and create a very low vibration. And so just continue to persevere, continue to reach for your goals. And I think we as a nation, we've never stopped. And so just continue forward as we are strong, a strong, very strong nation and continue forward and never stopping ever. But always have in mind that unity, allow being open to that and not blocking it with any hatred or I think that's important. I hope that helps.
Uh-huh. I love it. Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And I always want to end with the blessing. And Dorit,
Mhm.
Hashem should bless you with great success in Parnassa and the vision of a Malawach bar in any corner in America and beyond, and that people should come into your restaurant and feel your heart, which is you have this heart of service. You really want to serve and elevate people, and I can feel that when you're talking about your food and your restaurant and your business, and you should
Mhm.
inspire other women to start their own businesses, and you
Amen.
should continue to build bridges between communities as you are doing through this offering and
Amen.
to empower Jews to feel proud of who they are and have a space where they can go and feel that and feel ownership and continue to keep our people fed. And a fed people is a happy people. And I'm so
Mhm.
honored to have you on the podcast. And I want to wish you
Thank
every
you.
success and hatzlach.
Thank you very much.
And we will see you.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for your time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Daraba. It was awesome.
Simcha.